Like, I just remember I'm so stubborn that there's nothing that was ever going to get me to take it seriously other than intense, drawn out fear and realism, I guess, thrown in my face all at once, forcing me to stare at this thing and reconcile and make a decision. Otherwise, I just would have sat in the middle of the lane and just never made a decision. But for me, it was like I saw the movie Sound of Freedom. People can say whatever they want about the politics of that show, about the movie, and whether or not it was whatever. Either way, I walked out of that movie theater going, oh my God, evil exists, because that is terrifying. The fact that adults can act in this manner towards children and somehow go on with their life. That doesn't even make sense to me, how you could go down that path. And so I watched a podcast with Jordan Peterson, and he talked to the guy, the actual detectives in this movie that kind of tracked down these terrible human beings who were,
it was like the child trafficking
it was,
movie.
exactly. Yeah. And it just blew my mind. And so he asked Jordan, he was like, how did you become like this? And he goes, 1,000 paper cuts is how you become like that. And I remember just being like blown away, because I started watching more and more about it from these, more conservative politicians. I guess I'd been seeing like the left was kind of like really taken over. And then we started to see this swing back to the right. And at this point, I hadn't really given it much thought, I guess. And so there's a few people that were just talking about it. And they were like, you think that you're so special because you would never do these things, or you would never do those things, or you're different because your mindset's different. He goes, we're not as good as you think. And he goes, in fact, it's a lot harder to move in this world and remain good than you think. And I started to get, dive into these philosophical books, into more of these like wisdom books as well. I was very deep in this like new age spirituality, like yogi stuff. And so at this point, I was relatively aware of these things, but not to this manner. And I started to listen to these older gentlemen who really had wisdom that I was interested in. And all of them had this commonality where they're like, just read the Bible. They're like, it doesn't matter if you believe this thing. It doesn't matter if you like Jesus or any of that. Because there's some wisdom you can't generate from other places. And he goes, and it's not a secret that a lot of these books that you buy at Barnes & Noble are just diluted versions of the Bible anyway. And so like, okay, whatever, I'll buy the book. I had no clue any of the background. I didn't even know who Jesus was. I knew he was a term that you yell when you stub your foot. But that was just about as deep as I got. So I started reading. I'm like, yo, this guy's a G. Like, I was reading the gospel. I was like, who is this guy? Like, this guy has some serious conviction, whatever he's talking about. And I heard that he's a real person. So I started doing the research. I'm like, oh my God, he's real. Like, this guy existed. And that whole thing led me. And I'll keep it short. This is as short as I can possibly make, because it is a long story. Some crazy stuff happened while I was living in Seattle that put the fear of God in me. And I was terrified for about 6 weeks straight. I was in a state of terror. Some stuff had happened IRL, which was very rare for me. I don't get into drama very often. So I was in a pretty crazy situation where I just was constantly praying because I was so terrified of what was going on around me. There were some stalker situations, things like that. It was probably as lightly as I could put it. And I just found myself praying all the time. And I was like, I need some help here. I've got some serious issues in my head too that I'd like to work through. If you can help me out there,